We're delighted to be joined by Erik Berglof, Chief Economist of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Now, Mr. Berglof, you've been discussing today issues around the European economy, financial markets and the G20 London Summit. Against the current backdrop, what do you think that the London Summit can really achieve?
Well, I certainly think it's happening at a crucial point in time. It's certainly a crucial point for Europe, but a crucial point for the rest of the world. And I think there's enormous need for coordination. There's enormous need for decisions that will address the impact of the crisis on both on capital flows, and particularly my main concern is, of course, emerging markets in general. That a lot of the measures that have been taken so far have not really fully taken into account what happens what are the impact of these measures in emerging markets. For example, programs for bank restructuring have not always been made available to the subsidiaries of foreign banks. The stimulus packages often cannot be implemented by emerging markets because they don't have the fiscal resources, and so on and so on. It's very important to get this on the table, and I think the London Summit offers an opportunity to do that.
Now, I was wondering if I could ask you specifically about your constituency, the small Eastern European countries. We've had the meeting of the 27 heads of state only yesterday, where there seemed to be a lot of unity about tackling that problem. How much unity do you think there really is?
Well, I think we still have to see what the actual outcome of this meeting was. I think there was, as you say, strong signals of unity. It's very good, it's actually very important, critical for these countries now that there is a sense that the European Union is willing to back them up in this very difficult time. What was maybe less encouraging was that there was a lot of focus on differentiation and saying that some countries are in a different situation than others. I mean, that is true, but this cannot become a pretext for not doing anything. So we need to. It's a systemic problem. The countries are very much interconnected, particularly through the financial system. We need to address it at a systemic level, remembering that there are very large differences across countries.
Now, Gordon Brown is going to take that European message with him to Washington, where he's meeting President Barack Obama. How important do you think it is that there is a real feeling of coordination and a consensus between the United States and Europe between now and the 2nd of April?
I think so, and I think Europe very much illustrates the issues that G20 is trying to cope with or address, and of course particularly this relationship between Western Europe and Eastern Europe, very strong integration, but not really an architecture that supports this integration. There are many lessons from Europe that I think the Prime Minister can take to Washington. I think his challenge there is to really get some focus on the G20 issues, because as we know, the United States is facing a lot of domestic challenges. There's a new president, obviously in the beginning very much domestically oriented, and that's, I think, his challenge is to get this up on the radar screen in Washington. If he manages that, I think that is very much a positive result of that trip.